I will call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order. The first item on our agenda is to approve our minutes of our February 6th meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. Are there any additions and or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. The next item on our agenda is the investment report from our county trustee. And Mr. Beatty reports that there was one bid taken, and that went to Pinnacle for 1 year at .14. And you will also note that the LGIP is, or stands at .10. And Mr. Beatty will be here next month to give us a more in-depth report on property tax collections. I'll entertain a motion for the investment report.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner P.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Please locate your fund condition report, and our finance director, Mrs. Nolan, will begin with the development tax.
We received $488,250 in February, of which $361,500 was due to 241 apartments. That brings our total to $2,754,000 for the fiscal year, and we have met our budget projections.
Please move to cash balances.
At the end of February, our cash balance was $223,358,000, with $213,136,000 being operating funds, $10,222,000 being borrowed funds. One thing that I'll bring your attention to, which Melissa, I'm sure will be speaking on later, is the workers' comp fund, insurance fund. We've had a large payment, one half of a large payment. We've had a large payment. It's only about half of what's
There's more
probably
coming.
coming. Yeah, she'll be speaking to it later. I don't have anything else on here. If you want to, unless anybody else has any other questions on the cash.
Anything else you want to discuss on the cash
The
balances?
pavings down there at Poplar Cove and Rachel's Place, is that what's left over, or are they still in process, or?
On Poplar Cove, I'm not sure about Rachel's Place, but we wait for the planning to let us know that they're complete.
Mm.
And I'm thinking Poplar Cove, we did have.
I know
we
the
added
work is complete, I'm not sure we
Okay.
paid
Paid
it.
it all.
one of these we had to add money to. Can't remember which one. It wasn't sufficient.
Rachel's Place is still ongoing. I know we had one invoice this month, or in the month of February also, so.
You don't usually pave in the dead of winter anyway, you wait till warmer.
Gentlemen, anything else on cash balances? Okay, let's move to the revenue.
Overall, on the revenues and the funds, I would say that all those that have positive pictures beside them that I feel like we're gonna overall meet our revenue estimates. The ups and downs as we always have. One to bring your attention to on this first page that is lagging is the ambulance charges for services. They're a couple $100,000 behind where they were last year at this time. The current levy on the property tax at the end of February 2013, we were 88% collected of the levy. Compared to this end of February, we're at 86.67% collected. So we're running a little behind of where we were last year on the collections. And as Ms. Ely said, Mr. Beatty will be here next month to delve a little deeper in that. On the second page, the item of note, our sales tax in the rural area is up 18%. All governments in the county totally are up almost 6% over last period for the 7 months reported. one item that I did notice that is kind of just behind where they were last year. It's not a large number, but it is behind, and that is the charges for current services in the landfill, and that is your tipping fees, but that is somewhat cyclical around the storms that cause all the roof damages. So we are winding down from previous years where we did have a lot. You can see that the development tax revenue looks strong, primarily because of the development tax coming in. You know, we've met our estimate, so that's why that looks so good.
Any questions or comments for Mrs. Nolan on anything about her fund condition report?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Pettit.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We're ready for our risk management report. Mrs. Stinson, good evening. And you have financials for us again.
Okay, beginning with Fund 264.
We're technologically challenged over here.
Waiting.
We went out of the, there we go. Didn't want to flip over, it went to a whole new deal.
Beginning with Fund 264, ending in February, for our medical claims experience, we were at $788 per employee per month, compared to prior year of $585 for a year-to-date average of $819. When we combine our on-site medical clinic experience, that per employee per month rises to $825 compared to prior year of $620. Current year-to-date is $888 per employee per month compared to prior year of $854 for 3.9%.
Moving on to Fund 266.
For Fund 266, as Ms. Nolan indicated earlier, we did have a large claim which is reflected in the experience. Our current at the end of February is $1,126,881. That's compared to prior year, $555,553. In addition to that one large claim, our actual month experience was at $32,000, which is about in line on what we see on an average monthly basis.
She said that large claim was only like the first half of it, so there's
There's additional bills.
Another coming?
Correct.
in the short term or in the long term.
Should be in the short term and possibly ongoing for a period of time.
We will have our actuarial study done on this. We're required to do it every 2 years. We'll have it done starting in April so that we have sufficient time to come back to you for amendments out of the general fund to fund these expenses.
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan. Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Stinson? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Mr. Baker and Mr. Bolden, if you two gentlemen will join us, please. And they are going to give us a status report from the Industrial Development Board. Good evening, gentlemen.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You have there a list of active projects which we presently have tax abatement agreements with.
I don't think they did.
No, we
Okay.
don't have.
Okay, we're off to a rolling start. You will have here shortly. While they're being handed out, we'll comment, we have about that many that have, the abatement projects have, abatements have expired and are now paying full taxes. So we've we've kind of reached a point over the years with boards and commission agreeing to certain projects and such that basically we have nearly as many going off as we have coming on. So we're kind of, which is a good position to be in, because that way a number of companies that are now paying full taxes that would be, were enticed to come here with abatements. So we're, on that, so we're kind of to that point right now. It's probably not a break even, but it's pretty close. You do have a list now, I think, of the companies and the abatement, the arrangements we have. You will notice that they range there's quite a range of what we have done for various companies. The common denominator is money, in terms of taxes abated and what they do for the community when they come here. So some companies want various and sundry things. Others, we try to accommodate them as well as we can. But basically, the common denominator to all of what we do is taxes abated versus agreements that benefit the county for tax purposes. So you'll notice, like I said, there's quite a bit of difference in what we've done. That's because the companies, they wanted their abatement in certain forms. Some of them wanted it early on, some wanted it later. So we try to be as user-friendly as we can under it, but it all comes down to money, what we can do for them and what they can do for us. You know, the commission gave us the authority several years ago, as long as we could show a 3-to-1 benefit, that we could move forward without further approval. Well, all of these arrangements have at least a 3-to-1 benefit to cost under it. In other words, we're collecting 3 times the benefits to the community as on any abatement cost during the abatement period. So, and then once the abatement period is over with, we're collecting the full arrangement. So that seems to work pretty well for us, as you can see from there. So you've got some fairly large companies, some fairly small companies, but it kind of works the same for all of them. Be happy to answer any questions.
The Nissan one, is this an electric vehicle? That's the electric part or the battery part, or what is
Yes.
that? The battery part. And so it started this year, or 14, yeah. So it's a.
They've kind of been an ongoing customer of the board beginning. That was our first abatement process when they first came into Rutherford County. So there's been changes made to the structures and such over a period of time. This is just kind of the last one that's been put in.
They're still doing an in lieu of, though, on the main building, correct? I mean,
Yeah, but
it's 30
yes.
years old.
Right.
So when is it up?
We renewed it for, what is it,
2020?
2022.
2022, yeah.
Yeah,
But I tell you the truth, I don't know whether is that they keep expanding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of doubtful that their agreements will expire, because if they quit expanding, the agreements will probably play out. But hopefully that won't happen.
But like on the battery part, is this just a 5-year like it normally set up on others that we're doing? I mean,
No, sir, it's a little longer than that, and it's tied in with the existing agreements.
okay.
Because they wanted to be able to look at how we were doing their battery arrangements as opposed to the present thing. We just got through renegotiating the entire agreement there.
Well, one thing I'm glad you did was take the time to explain exactly what the payback is, because I have a lot of people, when I'm out knocking on the door saying, hey, how about voting for me? A lot of people say, well, how are you spending my money? And they want to know about this in particular. And that's something I've always told them, well, if I give these guys $1, they're giving us back 3.
At least.
So we're getting at least that back on all these returns here. And if you're not, it's gonna show up and, you know, of course, then they would be due to pay everything. So,
And these aren't necessarily 100% of tax reductions. They can be at 100,
Yeah, almost-
80.
well, none of them, I don't know that we've
No.
ever's a long time, but I don't think we've ever given 100% abatement. Some counties have.
Mhm.
We never found anybody was that good for our economy, so most of them are, and it varies from the time that we give one for as opposed to that, the shorter ones are 5 years, 7 years, something like that, 100, but they're still less than 100%, you know,
Yeah.
as far as any abatements there.
Let me ask you about Schwann. That's who's gonna be breaking ground next week out here on Joby Jackson. And it says an average hourly wage of $13.50, which includes benefits of 31%. So 31% of that $13.50 is gonna be benefits.
No, that'd be on top of that.
It's on top of it,
Right.
okay. So 31% of the $13.50, whatever that works out to be, is about $4,
That's your
$5. It's gonna be
benefit package.
okay.
Which we take that into account in evaluating how they benefit the community.
And the 3-to-1 ratio is during the abatement period.
Yes,
Do you look on it on an annual basis?
we check it, they have to submit to us that they are current with their, whatever they promised to do. That information flows into Sumner's office and we check that, and they're all compliant. That's something I should mention, they're all compliant with their, what they promised to do, so we're compliant with what we promised to do for them. Every now and then, we have a company that we've never had any that really just failed to do it. Some of us in bookkeeping, some of us, got lost in the shuffle and such as that. Sumner and Andrea send them a nice letter, and that kind of shakes the trees a little, and they come around. But as of right now, I believe Andrea said we were 100% compliant.
Correct.
And that includes their community development fee, which has allowed us to make sizable contributions to the science building, Motlow, various and sundry things.
And there was the Verizon with their call center, that it didn't meet, and what they said, they were hoping it would, but the only thing they got was that there'd be no other call centers in the county, but by them not making it, allowed the VA call center up in Smyrna to come.
Right.
Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir, that's right. And Commissioner Baum, the 3-to-1 cost-benefit ratio is calculated over the life of the abatement.
Okay. So there could be a period during the abatement where it's,
If it's front-loaded, sure, that could
Right.
happen, but it's just over whatever 5, 7, 10-year period that is.
As you can see, there's all sorts of deals that we could, but the common denominator is money. When you put it into that's the only way we really can handle it, because different benefits fit different companies. A lot of them want their benefits up front in terms of that. Others are willing to stretch it out over a period of time. Some want tax reduction, some want other things. So we use a consultant, very extensive computer program that has, I think, worked very well for us. But due to the fact that nothing like this is perfect, that's the reason we set on a 3-to-1. We got a lot of room for error and still be within the bounds of the county coming out on the long end of the stick.
And you
I had
work-
one other question about the jobs that's been asked to me, and I didn't know the answer to this. Want to say 50 jobs, and this one says 1,300 jobs. This one was 50, full-time jobs or whatever. Is that jobs for that company? Or from what I'm seeing is they're coming in with other jobbers to actually hire and fire and pay the wage out of another company. numerous companies are doing this now, I think, to go around whatever federal regulations or whatever, or insurance or whatever. You know, there's all different kinds of plans in each of these companies. How is that adjusted into their abatement, and how do they, are they counting those as the full-time jobs through another company that's supplying
It
those?
depends on that. In some cases, yes, that when they pretty well got their companies that have contractors that are making just as much and have the same benefits as maybe somebody else does, so. it kinda-
Like Amazon here, 1,150 jobs, it looks like, not less than 1,150. Well, Amazon may employ 50, and then there's an outside company or something that will supply, you know, the others, or even 4 or 5 different companies may supply, that come through their system as far as wages and benefits and everything else. Nissan does it. A lot of others are doing it for whatever reasons, and I just wondered how that.
Well, they have to meet the terms of a full-time employee, whether it's working through a
Through it.
contractor or
It
working.
doesn't matter, as long as they're full-time.
As long as it's a full-time
I see.
employee.
And this is inclusive of the whole county with the cities, because they have representatives on, so these can include the city and the county getting together.
By
on the
statute.
abatement, yeah.
It's by statute, yes, sir.
One thing is, we're not giving away tax dollars, we're giving away future tax dollars in these deals. We're making a deal for new jobs on what tax dollars would be generated, and we're having to compete against other communities to get these. So if we don't make a deal and this company doesn't come here, those dollars never get here to start with.
Mhm.
So it's not taking money out of the coffers of the taxpayers. We're talking about future dollars, and we're trying to make the best deal we can to get dollars in, but we're not giving away money we're currently getting. Is that not correct? Yeah,
That's
Or
correct.
that we would be getting if we
Yeah.
didn't.
yeah.
You know, it'd be nice to be able not to have to give any abatements or anything else, but I'd like to buy Cadillacs for $1,000, but nobody will sell them to me for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, you kinda have to, do what you have to do.
The competition for those jobs is fierce.
Mhm.
And I will say this, that there's some abatement packages that have been handed out in close proximity that are far more lucrative than what we've done.
The 3-to-1 ratio pertains to Rutherford County, and so if it includes a certain number of jobs, it's jobs in Rutherford County. Do y'all ever worry about what if some of the people who hold those jobs live in a neighboring county, or is that, you don't worry about those details?
Well, you normally discount that to some extent. We may, and it depends on the company as to what it is. In some cases, we do discount, the consultant discounts what would be, in the county. And it varies, but for the most part, short answer to your question, we consider those jobs as county jobs.
If the job's in the county, it's considered a county job, even if
Right.
the employee happens to live in a neighboring county.
Right. We do make some exceptions to that, but basically it's still, if they're working here, then they're gonna pay certain amounts of taxes here on it. We'd like for them to live here, but, you can't
Can't
do
control
everything, I
that.
reckon,
You
yeah.
don't have to educate your children if they don't live here.
Yeah, that's right, they do. But the other thing is that property, once they build a building like Schwann out here on Joby Jackson, when they get their building up, that property's gonna be worth a lot more with that building on than it is sitting there with sheep grazing on it.
Well, one thing I like about what you've done, kind of expand on what you were saying earlier, when I first came up here, we as commissioners saw each deal that came up. Now we don't see that because we basically turned that over to IDB. And part of the reason we did was we were seeing a lot of variance in the way these deals were made. Now they've got if I'm wrong here, I want you to correct me, you've got a computerized system. Basically, you key in what's going on and it spits out, does this make that 3% threshold or does it not? And if it does not, and for some reason you want to pursue it, then you have to come to us to go ahead and get it taken care of. But the other thing I'd like for you to do is expand a little bit more on the other aspect of your job where you're helping education here in the county. I know you mentioned Montlow a minute ago in the science building, but the monies that sometimes y'all generate, if you expand on that a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Well, we obviously are not able to fulfill all the requests that come up under it, but basically those probably are the three big ones that we have funded on it, is the science building, and Motlow, and the Smyrna expansion at the Smyrna Air Base under it. We have funded, we have contributed to the funding of all of that. As you well know, things like state projects, locals have got to put in a certain amount of money or the state won't go. So we've tried to, they had the science building is $170 million. Well, that's beyond our ability to touch, but we can help under it, and we have as much as we can in that. There's been some other smaller projects that have come up from time to time that we've been able to help with. We probably, in the future years, because we have kind of got a bank of things that are paying off, we'll probably be able to do a little more of that than we've done in the past. And I know that invites a lot of things, but I think we will be able. We've got several companies that will be paying considerable amounts of community development fees that I think will benefit the thing. So anything that we get in the community development fees from these companies, it stays right there, and we put it back into the system. It doesn't go out of the system. It's under it. So I can give you a list of the things that we've had on it. I don't have that with me. But
Well, I just wanted people in the community to know that y'all were doing this, and it, actually is part of what your committee is supposed to do. And, most of it's geared toward education, if not all of it.
Well, that's one thing we zero in pretty close on, that we can do that.
Commissioner P, that's what companies are looking for to a large extent when they look at these sites. They want to know, do you have a plentiful, highly educated, skilled workforce, and you get that through education.
Well, and that's what people at the chamber will tell you, and people out here wondering why we spend our money on education. It's part of it because it brings us good, stable jobs for us and for our children, so.
We can get you, through the IDB, we can get you all the low-wage, no-benefit jobs you want. I don't think you want many of them, but if, we have companies that come to us that we send on to other places, we'll say you actually will not benefit Rutherford County on it, because it's a low-wage, no-benefit company, and that may sound kind of high and mighty, but they do not benefit the economy.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, I know, I've been told in the past, there's a lot of them you turn away, so no, we're not gonna put our money out there.
We can't keep them from coming. But
Right, they can come and open business here.
It's not spending good money to entice them to come here.
Well, the last thing I wanted to point out is, if you drive around this state, and there's a lot of areas in Tennessee where the unemployment numbers are still extremely high. There are places around this state that are basically suppressed. People are having to drive 50, 100 miles to find a job or to get a job, or having to leave their home counties. And we don't have that going on here. It's not maybe as good as we want it to be, but part of that reason is you guys, and I wanted to say thank you.
Well, we work with the chamber, and let's put it this way, the chamber does an awful lot of the legwork in bringing these companies. They do a lot of the spade work to find these companies, and they bring us a package and say, hey, we got a company here that will pay this and do this, and first one thing and the other, what can you do for them? So that's basically, we've worked real good with them, they work real good with us.
Gentlemen, we appreciate you coming and giving us this report. Before you leave, I want to give the committee members one more chance. Any other questions or comments that you'd like to make about this report, or questions for these two gentlemen?
The comment is thanks again, but It's nice to see some positive things coming through.
Mr. Bolden, Mr. Baker, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate all you do.
We are ready for the general fund budget amendments. And our first budget request is from Mrs. Dew, and that is juvenile detention. Good evening.
Good evening. I have a budget amendment that is no new money. This is all from my current budget. It's a total of $16,000. I'm taking that from 3 different line items that you show in front of you and moving it into our other equipment line item. And it is for the commander system that we have in our facility. The one that we have now is it went down about 3 weeks ago, and it is going to become a backup, and we need to use this money to upgrade, so to speak, what we have so that we won't be down in the future.
Does this fix it?
It should.
Sounded like it didn't fix it.
Well, it Band-Aided it. What they did currently is a Band-Aid. This money is going to fix it so that we're not gonna have this problem anymore.
I see.
It's the same system that the Correctional Work Center has, and they had a portion of theirs that went down not too long ago, and ours isn't the same as theirs. Was a different component.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve. We had seen this also in public safety.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner P, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Mitchell? Good evening, Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening, how are you?
If you will present your budget amendment, please.
Yes, I'm requesting a transfer from consultants in the line item from the Board of Equalization into communications of $3,000.
Motion approved. Second.
Commissioner Jernigan, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Was that correct? Any questions for Mr. Mitchell? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sheriff Arnold and/or Mr. Russell? Good evening, Mr. Russell.
Sheriff is detained.
Okay, if you will begin, we will work through your 7 amendments, and we'll take it as one vote, probably unless we have any questions from a member of the committee.
That's fine. Okay, so first item up for bids, they had a wrecked vehicle check come back in, so we want to put that into our new vehicles line item since we got money back from the insurance company. The second item is a transfer within our budget. We don't need some funds for what we're going to use out of the other equipment line items, so we're going to put that into our detention in-service and give we have some new staff members. We're going to do some training for them. The third item, we're going to recognize some revenue for our donations and all the different charities we've got, which are the SCAN Memorial Garden, Shop with the Sheriff, Operation Integrity, Vegetable Garden, stuff like that. We're going to put those into the different budgets at the office for where those charities pull their money from. The fourth item I've got is we're recognizing revenue for donations into the animal supplies and veterinary services, and we're going to put those in those respective line items as well. Number 5 is where we have selling materials as usual at the office, and we're going to put that back into our basically accounts that they come out of when we originally purchased those goods. So the office supplies, printing, and then the other supplies line item. Number 6 is where we've got sell of recycled materials. We're going to put that into the other supplies line item, and it's also going to communication because that's where we recycle cell phones. We get money back for the used cell phones, so we're putting that back in the line item that we buy cell phones out of. And then the last item, number 7, is we want to pull $49,930 out of the other contracted services line item. Going to put that into the detention overtime budget because it's about out of money with related benefits. And then I need some money in office supplies line item for that.
Mr. Russell, I know you've been in communication with our finance director about how to best account for some of the monies that are involved in number 7. Mrs. Nolan had worked on adjusting that amendment, so if you'll give her just a minute, she wants to change a little bit of that account.
And the only thing I would change is where he's taken it from, is to take it from the commissary line item 101-44131.
49,930.
The 49,930 is to take it from 101-44-131. And it accomplishes the same thing. It just does some of the accounting correctly. There's some monies coming from commissary that have been receipted into this line, which created a place for him to, to move money. But we want to account for it correctly and put it in commissary. And I believe move that in there with what he's received to date and what is based on what you've gotten for the rest of the year. We should still meet the revenue estimate doing it this way.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is the overtime line item pay and which one?
For the jail.
For the jail.
Yes, sir.
And commissary is coming from the inmates,
Yes, sir.
and so that would mean that the jail is being somewhat more self-sufficient by using
Yes, sir.
that money to pay the overtime. So.
Mhm.
It's just an accounting
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
just,
The other is from Dr. Rudd, was it?
what it was is commissary, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, is the commissary revenue that was specifically paying for the medical services.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the general fund request by the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Schaefer, and seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any discussion relative to the motion?
I like them all, but number 7, I mean, we've got to pay the overtime whenever it's called up. I mean, we've got to do that. But for the jail to have this much, what happened?
There's constantly a problem with the jail because of the comp time buybacks and then also the 15 minutes that they have to be paid for from, I think it was a lawsuit prior or something
About
to
5 years ago.
the sheriff taking office, where they're paid for their time when they come on for a duty call or roster, when they come into the roster call.
But like I said, we had 172,000 built into there, and this makes it 200,000.
Mhm.
We're looking at the other line, overtime line item pay at 7 something, so this is pushing nearly $1 million in overtime line item.
Yeah, they watch that like a hawk back there, and it's just with that and then some of the buybacks that they have on overtime issues and stuff like that. It just ends up getting used up,
So are we short staffed there and all, or is it
Yes, sir.
just, we are too? That's part of it.
Mhm.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
Mr.
That's all I
Russell.
have. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's
Okay.
pretty much it, isn't it? We're ready to adjourn. Oh, yeah.
You
Got
might.
that even?
Okay. Item number 7, approval of funding for the Eagleville School Phase 1. Let's see, Mr. Sandvik is joining us and Mr. Clardy. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
We do have some information. Do you have some more information for us, Mr. Clardy?
This may be the same thing, I'm not sure.
I like it. More this way. We need 2 more this way. Good. There you go.
Somewhere, somewhere.
Yeah, we have some of these.
Same thing that's on the screen.
In
Okay.
fact, yes.
Well, we're here tonight to ask for 6.8 million, or approximately that, for Eagle Phase 1 addition. And I think Ms. Nolan has done a little bit of checking into the sharing and things since Health Ed just passed Health Ed unanimously. And what we're doing at Eagleville is we're adding 9 regular classrooms. We're adding 2 science labs. We're adding a band rehearsal room, a chorus or choir rehearsal room. We're adding boys and girls restrooms. We're adding staff offices, stage dressing rooms, a dining expansion, and also a bank and bookstore with serving line renovation. Eagleville has been without an auditorium, so to put them on parity with the other or equal to the other high schools, we are looking to add these. As you may recall, back in 2011, we had bids for Phase 1. We did Phase 2 first and spent approximately $3 million out there on Phase 1. But, or Phase 2. Phase 1 was bid, and the lowest bid came in at $3.7 million. Since we have an inflation factor that has things that continue to rise, we realize that in the 2 projects that we have going right now, Blackman Middle School Annex and then Smyrna Primary School. This, we would like to start this project. Right now we're in the process of getting the design ready to submit to the fire marshal. And then at May 9th, we would like to issue the bid document. June 3rd, we would like to open bids and then start construction on June 16th. This would help us get this addition ready to open by July 20th, 2015. And we've been up here. This has been on our plan for some time now. Eagleville is continuing to grow. We have, the city has just released or gotten under contract to put the new sewer in out there. So we look for the development to pick up out there in that area now. The sewer will serve the school. We're going to participate in that. The current sewer system we have is almost obsolete. It's private, and we release into a creek out there, so we will turn that permit back over to the state once we're hooked into the Eagleville sewer.
Is there any fees, will there be any fees with that sewer to hook into it? They charge it?
There will be a fee, plus we have to do some renovations out there to put some tanks in and different things for our sewer to go into so we can pump it up there to where it needs to go. We will be charged a fee of about $2,500 a month for connection to that, which is actually pretty comparable to other schools. We will also contribute some money up front, and this money is already in our capital improvement plan. We submitted that last year because we saw this coming, and I think that will be approximately $150,000 up front that we participate in on that. We're also looking at the process or possibility of running the repurified water from the sewer system back over to the school to water the fields and things. So that will give us, that in itself almost pays for the sewer bill every month.
Regardless of this project, that sewer's been needed for decades.
It has.
And this is a fix we've got, it's gonna happen regardless of if we do this project.
That's
Right
correct.
here, and it's a badly needed fix, you know.
Who was awarded the bid on
On, what?
this? This right here?
It hasn't been awarded
Okay,
yet. We're gonna
okay.
have to rebid it.
Okay.
Because its price is so old.
Okay, this is 11, okay, I'm sorry.
Open bids
Yeah,
June
yeah.
3rd.
So Mr. Odom may be able to expand a little bit more on the need for it.
I'm not sure what's been said.
Well,
Of course, what we're talking about in the corridor between Riverdale and out Blackman area all the way into Eagleville. Eagleville has certainly grown in the last several years, especially in the Rockville area. We saw over 100 new students in the middle school in Rockville this last year. That's growth numbers. Of course, the whole county was 1,140. And you remember some of that numbers in growth in new students in 1 year. On the figures, it's been really interesting to me as a county that since 2000 we've grown over 15,000 students in Rutherford County, and you know that because you've been on the commission and dealing with it. That's larger than 91% of the school districts in Tennessee. Just our growth in the size of those school districts. So this again creates additional 13 classroom spaces. There's some specific classrooms, and have you been over some of those?
yeah.
Okay, so we've got that information. So the idea is, again, to create additional space. Very high graduation rate there, you know, over 95%. And parents are seeking that out. And so they have a waiting list of people who would just like to go to Eagleville. That concept, even though it's K-12, very attractive because once a student is there, they have a great job of hanging on to them and graduating that student. We're very, very strong agricultural program. Mr. Jordan and I really was at a program there the other day in Rutherford County this time. You might not know that. This is a little bit of rabbit chase. 2 of the state officers in FFA are Rutherford County. One of them's Riverdale and one's Eagleville. We've had national officers, you know, in Chelsea Dawson also. Lots of pride there. Lots of educational opportunities for students there. I'd love to see them to be able to have an auditorium where they can do a play at their school, like students in other places can do. So, I mean, we're dealing with some equity. We're dealing with additional space more than anything, though, so that we can accommodate students. We'll try to answer any questions you might have.
Y'all ever thought about changing the name out there to the Phoenixes? You know, we burned that school down one time, tried to get rid of it, and it keeps coming back. And I'm saying that jokingly. It was a wonderful school.
You can quote him saying that, I have no part of that.
And I'm not suggesting we change it to Phoenix.
You grew up in that environment.
That's right. Well, I
Same
grew up
time.
playing basketball against those guys. They were tough. Tell you. But no, I think it's a project that we need to go ahead with myself.
Some of the higher costs that we face in this phase are because we're having to look at some of the core facilities. As the school has grown, the cafeteria has been woefully inadequate for several years, and we've talked about this. And one of the things I mentioned with Health and Ed is the serving line renovation. We will be able to pay for that out of cafeteria funds, not borrowed funds, because of centralizing the cafeterias.
So we will create space and the cafeteria funds will pay for the equipment that goes in.
So what you're calling dining expansion is a cafeteria. It's not gonna be a steak restaurant or something. I mean, you know, I was thinking maybe a faculty or principal.
We're actually taking the old stage, which is the only auditorium they have that's smaller than this room, taking that out and expanding that area into seating. And then the serving lines that's in just another area, they're confined by the serving line, so we're gonna add some serving lines into another area.
What will this do with the portable situation? Then will they get rid of them?
Hopefully.
hopefully will, but.
I've heard
Yeah,
that
but-
word before.
Well, but Rutherford County, we only have 143 left, you know, so.
Here's the
That's an
issue.
I heard that up in my area one time too, and the next year we had more than we had before.
Well, here's the issue. You spend, $20,000 moving them out.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you get a spurt of growth and you're spending $20,000 to move them back in. So we have to really evaluate that closely to see.
If the more they get moved, the faster they fall
Yeah,
apart.
Start leaving them laying on the side of the road. When you get there, there's nothing but a frame.
Well,
Yeah,
compared to,
Let me
I'm
ask
sorry,
one
go ahead.
more on the side. Is this gonna do anything for a future high school of delaying it? Or is it gonna change where it will go? I assume the next one's gonna was either gonna go towards Rockvale or out in the Buchanan area, one or the other, but to
I mean-
switch things around?
Possibly, it just depends on where it goes. And the board and your wisdom too, by when we purchased the property for Rockvale, when we purchased, Whitworth Buchanan did purchase properties to have the high school there. When we just had some recent rezoning with our middle school at Whitworth Buchanan and the property right around the school, we were told that's gonna be 751 lots. I received information this week from one of our county planning inspectors said that the other major subdivision out there, about the same size as that 700, was taking bids for concrete work on it. And it already has lots approved, so there's, I'd like to say yes here or there. I don't know that I can say. I think we have to be flexible to address what developers and where people move. But it'll be one of the two.
It could possibly help the
Slow it down a little.
situation.
We can slow it down
Yeah,
just a little
slowly.
bit as we can increase the capacity there at Eagle. Because he has a waiting list of people typically that want in.
and we could end up doing the addition to Siegel High School before we build another high school.
That
That's,
is
that
true,
could go
which
either
what
way,
we're
could it not?
doing
So,
for middle schools
yeah, so
now.
that could buy some time to do that addition at Siegel, which is 3 or 4 years out or something like that.
I was gonna ask earlier, the 2011 bids, and this is a little more square footage than what we were looking at to begin with. So this 6.8, is that, of course, we hadn't bid it, but you're thinking that's,
It's total, that's the total with all the fees, design fees, the equipment, furniture.
Sharing
all
with
of-
the city.
City share.
shitty share?
Yeah, all of those things.
Because I don't know what the
He's
square
shaking his
footage-
head no, but I thought,
The city share,
On 6.8 million is.
515 something.
No, it's 515, you have to add 145, so it's like 600 and something thousand.
But that's included,
623.
that's included in the 6.8.
No.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay.
Part of
to add
it
it.
was due to the fact that we have already paid a little bit of the design fee out of that. That's where the confusion comes from. So that will be applied to the amount.
It'll be, the 6.8 is your estimate for the total project.
Yeah, but isn't that high school? So why is it gotta be done, given part to the city?
Because it's K-6.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a
K-12 school, which
but
has
we're only doing the
K-6.
high school part.
So
it doesn't matter.
we've always, everything that we've done at that school has been a 7-13.
They look at it as a
share.
whole, as one school instead of a high school and elementary side by side.
So we-
State calls
we
it
saved
unit
what we
school.
built
Yeah.
That's the
last
way they
edition.
call it. Terminology.
You know, science labs are gonna be used by those kindergartners?
How we've always handled Eagleville, because the,
Yeah, but now it's getting steep.
We were talking about the growth out that way when I was on planning, and maybe y'all can update me some, but they were saying that the corridor between Murfreesboro and Eagle out 99 was one of the fastest growing in the state, and compared it at that time to, I think it was Jackson, which was, at that time, was growing fast. Now, it's been a few years since I've been on planning, but that is a high growth potential area, especially we extended the sewer part of the way out to Rockville.
Rockville.
And then now this other extension here, you bring in sewer and the houses will come. So, yeah, we're gonna have some growth there.
got a question. The last several months, maybe the last 6 months, this committee's been working with a spreadsheet that has had forecasted when various capital projects were gonna occur and when they were gonna need to be funded. I guess until this month, my impression had been that this was a fall 2014 project. Has this been expedited? Can I consider this to?
It's more or less, we had talked about borrowing in the fall. We've kept pushing this out, you know, we'll probably go to market in May. So now we're kind of, do you see what I'm saying? We didn't go to market in fall of 13. So we pushed out. Now they're bringing this in, so it's crazy to go, for me, to go to the market in May and turn around and do it coming up in just a few more months.
So maybe.
So I'm okay with, and I think you'll be okay when we schedule out all the debt, is going ahead and doing that one within this one. Pretty much when I look at debt and when we're borrowing it, my first question is, are we gonna spend this in the next 2 years? And this definitely would be a project that if approved, we hit the market, it'd probably be spent out in the next 2 years.
You're saying it makes sense to go to the market, bond market one time, so even though this spreadsheet says fall of 2014, it makes sense to go ahead and get the funding now when you
If
go to
this
the
one
market
is-
in a
if
month
this-
or two.
Yes.
Now,
If
I
this is the
kind of have
priority.
a set of related questions. I mean, still, we're looking at these spreadsheets that project when various capital projects are gonna occur. And we've got a new spreadsheet in front of us that says something along the lines of a new middle or elementary school that would cost around $35 million. And the date on the spreadsheet we just received says February of 2014. That's already passed, but it says the design would occur in March of 2014. Is this a project that's essentially occurring right now as well, or because on the original spreadsheet we had, I don't think there's anything about that until the fall of 2000. Fall of 2016. I guess I'm just trying to figure out when all these capital projects are going to occur, because it seems like they're moving around a little bit. And the reason why that's important is, I think this committee has been interested in entertaining this new judicial building because we thought there was an intermission in school construction. But now it looks like we're discussing funding a school project tonight, but there's also one on a new spreadsheet for $35 million that says March of 2014 for a new middle school or elementary school. I guess I'm trying to figure out if there's an intermission in school construction for the judicial building or not.
I think on that particular one, Commissioner Jordan spoke to it in Health and Ed.
I was told it was pushed back, is what I was
It has
told.
been.
I asked the
We don't
exact
have
question, Health and Ed, yeah.
Have the property now to do that. Part of it.
One I see in 2016, I don't see where you're saying.
There's one on one of the
we just got.
list on the same
See, we
timeline as
just
the
got.
Eagle project, and I was told in Health and Ed that was farther back, it's been pushed back.
We've
And
been
we changed
paid.
our model a little bit, and that we decided to add, you remember at Blackman, it is more economical for us to do the addition, do that 6th grade wing. We can carry that so far, you know, but that's one of the things that makes us, as we look at this, what you were thinking of, every time you buy a new piece of property and build a whole new school, that if we can find a combination of these two, you're obviously gonna have to build a new school sometimes, but if you can also find the ability to add on to existing schools, your square foot cost goes down. And to be honest with you, it's not on that sheet. We're even looking at the same thing in other schools, because when you go 1,100 students, you have to start reacting and looking ahead. And it jumped from the year before to 500 and something. It was kind of in the last part of that recession period. You know, I fully expected this year not to see 1,100. I thought 500. Well, maybe 6, maybe 7, but it didn't. You know, it doubled. And so that's the kind of things that even when you got a plan, you say, oops, my plan's not working. What can we do in a shorter time frame? So, I mean, that's what we are trying to react.
Right, understand plans change, I'm just trying to figure out which spreadsheet is the most accurate. We've got one that we've been working with for several months that's changed. We got a new one tonight, and that's the one that I'm referring to that says March of 2014 has a $35 million new middle school or elementary school. Now, it may be that that's been pushed back, but we just got this new spreadsheet tonight, so it's kind of hard to figure out when these projects are gonna occur, because we've got 2 or 3 different spreadsheets, and
Maybe I can clear some of this up. We, as, you know, from our standpoint, we have been at a reprieve for the last couple of years in bringing projects forward. To give the bank a break so other projects can be looked at. And it's evident by doing the Blackman addition instead of going out and building a new middle school in that area that would be $35 million. We're spending $8 million out there. We've got a problem at Oakland Middle School and Siegel. So we're looking at maybe doing the same thing at Oakland, but we're trying to do a property deal on that right now. With everything taking off, if it takes off like it's predicted to take off at Whitworth Buchanan in that area, we're going to need to do an annex out there for the 6th grade. So we're looking at property adjacent to that right now to give us a little bit more to relocate the ball fields to and build there close to the existing building. You know, it's a constant thing that we're having to update. As a matter of fact, this past year we've got enough for 1 1/4. We've gained enough students for a full school and a quarter of another school. Actually, 2 schools would be. So, you know, our whole group is trying to keep up and chase this moving target. It's just like the high school. You know, we don't know what's going to happen out there on Veterans Parkway. There's all kind of lots sitting out there between 96 and 99 that could bust open any time as soon as the banks start releasing funds. So you've got Veterans Parkway, and you've got Whitworth Buchanan area, that 41 area that's growing. So if something breaks out somewhere else, we're gonna have to change it again if it gets stronger than what we've got going right now. But we're trying to manipulate our buildings and try to look for new ways to deal with the growth without spending $40 million a year on new schools, so that we can give the bank a break.
And we did discuss the pros and cons of putting the next middle or elementary, have 2 of them in 1 year. I think part of the reason we left it this way, realizing we weren't going to get it to them in August of 2015. But we want everyone to understand we are back to more than a school a year. We could very soon be back to that level of 2 schools a year. Maybe not 2 high schools, but 2 elementary schools or middle high school as the growth picks up. Month to month, comparing like 3rd attendance period this year to 3rd attendance last year, 4th, 5th, 5th, we're seeing a slow uptick in our rate of growth. Historically, that has meant we're going to be hit, if it holds through the end of this year, we will probably see a noticeable bump come August of next year.
I know it's a tough situation, but it's a good problem to have. I mean, the industrial board's doing a great job of getting jobs in here that's bringing people in. They have children, so as long as the jobs are available and people are coming to Rutherford County, we don't have to educate their children.
But y'all as a school system have come forward to us tonight saying we need to go on and move this Eagle situation. We know these other things is coming, but where we at tonight is what's been discussed on about Eagle.
And Dr. Baum, another thing that surprised us kind of this year, we've been seeing a lot of growth in the Smyrna Laverne area. And it's one of those things that just kind of moves around. It did not grow as much this year. There was not a lot of new developments in that area. But what was not done there is now popping up in the Whitworth, Buchanan, Joe B. Jackson, Highway 99 corridors. It's one of those things that's kind of, it is chasing that moving target, and you have to respond to it.
I'm gonna
So
make a
what's-
motion to approve what they've come forward with.
Commissioner Jernigan has made a motion to approve the funding for the Eagleville School Phase 1.
I'll second it.
We have a second from Commissioner Jordan. Further discussion?
Well, this isn't new, you know, we're not looking at this for the first time. I mean, this is, we've already talked about this and, you know, this phase wasn't done. So we've really promised the community that this is what we're gonna do. And we just hadn't finished the project, is all. We're basically got a new high school out there without the new high school prize. I mean, this right here finishes the plan, finishes the project, and we didn't do it here a few years ago because other things got in front of it or whatever, or, you know, kind of muddied the waters on some other projects here. But personally, I mean, 6.8, and when you're comparing it to looking at $30, $40 million or $50 million on our last high school, you know, this right here will do you for a while, but this isn't a promise. This is going to be done, and this is going to solve the issue. When this sewer project goes in, then we may be back here in another year, or y'all will. I won't be. But you know, looking at something else, you know, and what are we going to do next? So I'm definitely for the project, but this is a straight out foreign issue with us. We're not. School board's not chipping in on this project, or are you? Or if you are, to what extent?
Cafeteria money's doing the cafeteria addition.
Well-
And we've already done the design.
What's
That's
kind of
already
tough on
taken.
our budget this year, you know, we had to bring forward $12 million to balance it out. Then you have to have your 3% ending fund balance, that's 9. So we're looking at 21 million, and we gotta save up by the end of this year, folks. I mean, that's what it is. State report card last year said we spent $1,282 less than the state average per pupil. So we're trying really hard. If we just spent the state average, it would be another, with 41,000 students, it'd be another $51 million in our budget. Our board, and they're not here tonight, all of them, but they're one of the most efficient, and they're trying really, really hard. You have a great school system in Rutherford County. I was sitting at the Chamber of Commerce the other day, and the Chamber of Commerce is bringing in people to, how do we market Rutherford County, what do we do? And they had a person here from Arkansas and one here from Atlanta, and those people sit there, and I sat down with Dr. Linda Gilbert, and I'll give accolades to Musselburgh City Schools too. And we were the only two in the room, and those two people looked at each other and said, very interesting, we're glad to meet you, each of you. We've called people from business all over Rutherford County, all over this community, and we asked them the question, what does Rutherford County need? What are the assets of Rutherford County? And he looked at us and said, every single person that came in here said one of the selling assets for Rutherford County that's drawn people here is your education system. And it's an investment in this county. And we can't afford to lose it. It is one of our drawing cards. Glad to be a part of it, and you are too, because you backed us all the way.
You know, we have some of the highest scores of the majority of the state, and we're doing it for $1,200 less student than the average. So education in Rutherford County is a great value to the taxpayer.
Ms. Nolan, I'd like to ask you a question. You passed out a new spreadsheet tonight too, and it actually rolls back the money required for the judicial building by 1 calendar year. I guess I wanted you to comment on why that's possible, or what the implications of that would be, and why that adjustment was made on your new spreadsheet.
I'll let the mayor probably speak to it on how long the timeline for when we'll need cash to begin that building. So I have pushed it out, and it's
gonna be probably near the end of 2016 before we actually start construction on that building. So that's all, she just reflected when we're gonna actually begin the expenditure of that total project cost.
Okay, looks like, so again, it's been pushed back a year. So remind us with that delay, what are we borrowing in the bond market in a month or two?
With the additional cost, it moved it over, I think I'm at around 26 million total.
That's the parking garage.
That's,
No.
that's the round number to buy the property. The airport improvement, the $1 million from the, that we've got to finish out. Joby Jackson. And then estimate of $4 million for planning design of the judicial center. So that's all I've got, $8.5 million for county projects.
And so you said it was how much? 22 or 24 million?
You have to add, okay. Look over here. If you look over here, the number I was working was 5.3 million, but it's 6.8 is what they're asking. So I've added, and then of course the difference. So the bottom line, the bottom line number, you add 1,645,000. So I'm at around 26 million total for everything.
This year, and
This year.
The two $30 million installments for the judicial building
It's
will
gonna
be
push down.
at another trip to the bond market.
Right.
Okay, I guess, and one more question. What would be the drawback of discussing the funding of this capital project in about a month or two when we're going through the full budget for next fiscal year?
My hope is, this is March, my hope to bring you April is the initial resolution, the preliminary, the initial resolution to borrow money with all the projects listed that we publish and say this is what we're gonna do. Then in May, we'll be borrowing for projects, because it's not just these that we've got ready. So that's kind of my timeline.
We're getting right back to a conversation we have over and over again. You want to open the school for August, and you try and time this to start the school in time to open it, have it through July 20th. That gives you about a week and a half, get it cleaned up and get the kids in there. If we had this exact same conversation 2 years ago about, I forget which one it was, but if we wait till a couple of months to approve this and push this timeline back, the school's finished up in October. And then you say, well, you don't want to open in October, just push it back to next year. And all of a sudden you're right there at next year saying, we're going to do it then. So it's the nature of the beast. Schools open when they open. It takes about a year to do this kind of project once you start construction. And I think I remember having this exact same conversation, Commissioner Baum, and I don't remember which school it was on. Maybe it was Blackman Middle last year, but I remember having the exact same conversation.
We're faced with that issue right now because we didn't have any slack time in our schedule and we got hit with the weather. So we're probably gonna end up opening a couple months late for the Blackman project this year.
I guess for timing for me, the airport authority will be needing their money in June. I'm assuming that I don't know, as far as getting the judicial person, the planning in person in place, we want to have money there when they sign contracts. So that's been my timeline.
But if we look at 15, okay, that's when we're gonna start looking at borrowing money in late fiscal year 15-16, correct? And then look what the school board's talking about to open in 16. You know, we've got to look at that whole thing, because all of a sudden, this 26 million's up and it's close to 100.
I mean, I think, if
And,
you look at the bottom line number, all these projects estimated in the next few is, you're talking $220-some million in the next. 4 or
But
5 years. But we've
we-
always been talking about 200.
We've got more and more schools all the time. Now, some of these new ones are getting to where they're gonna be needing, when I say new ones, the ones built this century, are gonna be needing renovations here pretty soon, which is what we've been doing with our older schools to keep them up. Because you hear, all of us know, you hear an awful lot, well, boy, I want my kid to go to a new school. I've got grandkids, I know what they've gone through and that type of thing. But so I'm saying, we're in a cycle that's going. And my question now is, when we put the dollar figure on our debt and what we're gonna have to pay, what are we gonna have to do to be able to pay it? What's it gonna require us to do, is what I'm getting at.
Are you saying if we were to grow and do these schools as shown on their new schedule, how's that gonna look?
Or say to delay the high school a year because we're gonna get additions to Eagleville High School and say Siegel High School or something like this, so that pushes it out. But from what they've said, the way they've got Siegel Middle and Oakland Middle, that they're busting at the seams, they're already trying to move some to Whitworth Buchanan and some from there to over to Christiana, and yet now they're saying that they're gonna have up to, in the next couple of years, 1,500 new homes out there. We heard 441,000 on the development tax, and it's almost all, if it isn't all, apartments, which is the worst thing that can happen, really, because.
I think that 1,500 homes is projected to take about 20 years to build out.
that is-
Well, that won't be immediate.
It'll take at least that long.
If we go back to this motion instead of drifting.
Well, it's all
up
part
to
of it.
3 years.
It's all part of
But
it.
let's don't
I
forget
think
that
we
we're
need to
paying
get back to where
about
we were.
$25 million in principal off every year.
Yeah.
So we could stay even. We could build a school every year, and the debt service wouldn't have to change. So there's all kinds of moving pieces here. I think they've already indicated that clearly in the year of, we're not going to open a new middle school by 2015. That's what they promised us last time at the Health and Ed meeting. So, and I think they're sort of revising their thought processes about what they're going to do about these middle schools. So I really probably over the next few months, I'm sure they're going to bring us a revised schedule that will make this picture a lot more clear.
Well, we can argue about wants, but this isn't a want, this is a need. You know, and we did the easy part, we did the cheapest portion of it, we got the most bang for the buck, the phase 2 first, and this is the part we gotta bite the bullet and finish the project and move on, you know. So.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second, but I want to make sure that everybody gets as much discussion or questions as we need. Any further discussion relative to this motion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Ball?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandler?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Do you have anything else, Mr. Odom, Mr. Clardy, Mr. Sandy? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate
We
it.
can get a lot more questions.
While the school board members are here, I would like to say we need to put out our prayers to the Blankenship family upon with the death of our school board member, Miss Helen Blankenship, a lifelong resident, longtime family, good people, and it just breaks your heart. Her father just passed away a few weeks ago, and it's unbelievable this has happened. But keep the school board and everything else in their prayers and
The
the
board members
family.
mentioned that tonight at their meeting. I mean, she cared about kids, and every one of them told me personally and then publicly they're going to miss her.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, item 8 on our agenda is a request from American Gold Star Mothers. Mayor Burgess.
Okay, this is a simple request from the American Gold Star Mothers for us to fund 2 signs that would be at the entrance of State Route 1 and coming into Rutherford County and going out of Rutherford County at $162.50. This will honor those young men and women that have been killed in military conflict, and they're doing this across all of Tennessee, State Route 1, and which is 23 counties. So this is just a gesture on our part. They have to get this approved actually through the state legislative body, But this would just be our commitment of $325 to recognize and honor those people that have been children of these mothers that have been killed in conflict.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Sedlin had a motion, seconded by Commissioner P. Mrs. Nolan, did
I was
you-
just going, is this just the, in writing the resolution, is this a resolution?
A resolution to, there's a, I have attached
You have a
resolution.
sample?
There's a sample
Okay,
resolution.
there you go.
And
Okay.
coupled with that, the cost of that would be $325.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin? Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Farley?
Should have that crowd that stands for me.
Mr. Farley, the acceptance of the 2013 Safer Fire Grant, and we will do the related budget amendment.
Yeah, I just wanted to, as we look at the projection for population in Rutherford County, it just continues to outpace the projections. We're already at 290,000 people in Rutherford County. In 2010, when we created the county fire department, the total runs or call volume for the whole county at that time was over 1,300 calls. 2011, we answered over 1,400 calls. Now, this is countywide. In 2012, it was right at 2,000 calls.
Unincorporated area.
Yeah, this is the unincorporated area of the county. 2013 was, last year was 2,170 calls. So far this year, we've had 350 calls countywide, and the county fire department has run 200 calls, where we were at last year, at this time, we were about 75 calls. So our call volume is greatly increased and continues to grow with population. The demographics of the unincorporated area is continue changing. We're not a rural area no more. The other night I spoke with Commissioner Phillips, that he worked at Heritage Farms, and he said that when he first started out there, 50% of the milk that they got was from Rutherford County. He said now we get nothing from Rutherford County. So the dynamics in the county has really changed. We have a lot of people who live in the county and they commute. It's not a place where we have farmers now who can get off the tractor or respond. It was part of the volunteer fire system years ago. So I think 12 paid firefighters will help complement the volunteers that we have by providing a guaranteed response during the daytime when our staffing for volunteers is low. It's going to help provide a higher level of training. It's going to assist a lot of them in the state requirements of their fire reports. We have some departments that are behind and not been able to keep up. That's something we will be able to assist them with. And it's also will help us to increase the operational readiness of our equipment through regular preventive maintenance and checks, and to make sure that what we have is operational. These 12 firefighters will also put us in a position to hopefully lower our ISO rating to a class 4. As y'all know, when we started the county fire department, the area that the county covers was around a class 7. We dropped all that to a class 5, which was on an average home would probably be a couple $100 a year savings in insurance. I think this will also attract some business out in the rural unincorporated areas too, as far as being able to provide a higher level of fire protection. Our subdivisions are more expensive. There's a lot of very nice homes out in the county where once there was a lot of farmland. I know that Murfreesboro Fire Department is fixing to hire 15 this year. That will be drawn out of our volunteers. Chris Clark, who is now the Assistant Chief of Laverne Fire Department, has told me they're fixing to hire 11. And he's already talked to me about people he knows that's in the county fire department that he's going to hire. So that's going to also put a drain on our staffing of people that we have in the county. When you look at the volunteer fire departments, the average number of, if you average them all together, it averages about 15 firefighters per department. Now there's some that has a lot more, some have a lot less. But it just, this will, well, like I said before, will be a compliment to our volunteers. We'll have paid people who can respond in the daytime or anytime when staffing times are low. As you know, this also incorporates the rescue part of it. You know, right now, we only have one full-time rescue truck, and that's by sort. And my biggest fear, like I shared with public safety, is that we have a vehicle accident out at Walter Hill that sort's working, and then we have something on the interstate on the other side of the county. And at that time, you know, we've split it up into 5 rescue zones, but those rescue trucks are still manned by volunteers. They're not always manned. The other night, we had a 7 car pileup on 231 as I was sitting here with public safety. A 2-year-old was ejected from the vehicle. My rescue truck was down because I didn't have people at the station manning it. So, you know, I think there's a great need. I think as we look, and by the time this grant is a 2-year grant, if I do happen to hire some veterans, we can apply and extend them for 3 years full-time, full pay. But I think by the time this grant comes around, that it comes time that the county pick up that portion of it, I think we're going to see a need in our population, our growth. We're going to see a bigger need to hire 12 more. So I mean, it's, you know, we're really growing as a county, and we're not a rural area anymore. We're more suburban or urban. There's a lot of homes out there, and I just feel like, you know, we're at a place now that we need to start heading in this direction.
What are there, about 85,000 people in the unincorporated area, something like
A little
that?
bit less than that, but it's close to that.
Which we saw this in public safety, and, you know, firefighters, especially the volunteers, are near and dear to my heart. But one thing a lot of people don't realize is the difference between a volunteer and a full-time employee, the way the ISO people look at it. And basically what it means is you have to have a 4-to-1 ratio to be equal. For these 12 firefighters, one truck is manned by 4 people. If I get off Larry, straighten me out. But for one truck of full-time firefighters to be equal, that would be one truck with 12 firefighters from the county, volunteers, for it to be equal to get the rates. And that's one reason he mentioned the ISO rating, being able to get that down. The money that we're spending here will go toward lowering these ISO rates, and that will make a big difference as far as what's coming out of our pockets. You know, if we decide to maintain this is a grant. It's not going to cost us anything. Basically, we get to try this shoe on and wear it for 2 years. We decide we don't like it, and that's something that needs to be pointed out. If this does go forward, these guys need to be hired with the understanding, hey, in 2 years you may not have this job. But personally, I feel like we're at the point where we need them full-time.
We need a guaranteed response.
The ISO rating has become a big deal with the insurance companies. Several years ago, it wasn't that much difference, but you just go look at a house that's more than 1,100, 1,500 feet, whatever, away from a fire hydrant and see what your insurance rate is compared to one that's close. I mean, it's several $100s. And every time this ISO number goes down, like you said, we raise taxes a few cents, and somebody's average tax bill goes up $120, $30, and they're upset, and they're rightfully so. But that's going to save them more than that on their insurance cost.
Well,
right there.
Royal Glen subdivision out on 96, whenever Salem Blackman lost that 96 station and had to move the whole
There are horror stories out there.
They're 5 miles outside the city, outside the 5-mile range. They got hydrants out there. Those are $500,000 homes, and every one of those homes out there, their insurance went from $1,200 a year to $3,500 a year. Because believe me, they call me and let me know about it.
Yeah. That's
So
more than the insurance they
it's-
pay in property taxes by far.
So, you know, I think if anything we could do to help cut that out, you know, you're talking about their insurance tripled. And a lot of that's because of Hurricane Sandy, a lot of the disasters that we've experienced. The insurance companies are starting to crack down. They, you know, used to they'd give you credit for fire hydrant, now they're not. I have to write letters to insurance companies stating that this certain home that they're wanting to insure, that they're looking to write a policy, that it's within 5 miles of a fire station and they're within 1,000 foot of a hydrant. Because a lot of what the insurance agents are telling me, if they're not within 5 miles of the station, or they don't have a hydrant, they won't even ride them. If it's a class 10, they won't even ride them. They don't want that, they don't want to take that risk.
I don't hear a lot of discussion. I'm ready to go ahead and make a motion on this to approve the grant. I guess I'm gonna leave it at that for now.
Yeah,
But, or give the appropriate people the right to sign it if it does pass, so.
I'll
Okay,
second
we have a
but-
motion from Commissioner P, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer.
But I'd like Commissioner P to add on the part to reiterate in the motion that the grant is for only 2 years, just so there's no question about
Yeah,
that.
this can be part of the
people.
motion. But I don't want these guys to be surprised, you know.
Well, we interviewed for a recruitment and retention coordinator, and what he does is he interviews every application that comes in through the fire department, and a lot of times we have people who may live out in Walter Hill or Kittrell that will apply for the county. And as he interviews these people and talks to them, if they're in that other area, we send them to that department because that's where they're located, that's their community, that's where they need to serve. So it's actually helping all the volunteer fire departments too. But when we interviewed for that job, and we told them all, you understand this is only a 4-year grant. So, you know, when we interview for these firefighter jobs, if it's passed by the full commission, during the interview process, that's the first thing I tell them. This is only guaranteed for 2 years.
Are you gonna try and hire the volunteers for this?
We're gonna hire the most qualified people that we can, and that we're looking for firefighter certifications, certification in vehicle rescue, and some medical too. I mean, we've set a standard, and pretty much the standard we've set is right there where Murfreesboro Fire Department is.
Well, these fire departments across the county have wore out the volunteers in a lot of ways, but still, that's part of the incentive of being a volunteer. If you're wanting a career in firefighting, if you go into the volunteers, there's several very outstanding groups of volunteers out there. And if you have those certifications, I know when I was a volunteer, I had more certification than most Murfreesboro City firefighters at the time. And I got those on my own. And you basically are getting a leg up because they'll hire a man that, first of all, they don't have to pay for him going through that. So, I mean, it's a big incentive for them to hire. And, you know, it's a good thing. It's a good recruitment for the volunteers because I know I've written letters of recommendations for a lot of our volunteers throughout the county for different fire agencies.
And since the commission has approved the county fire department, you know, we offer state certified training. We do all the rookie classes that's sanctioned by the Fire Academy and done by state certified instructors. So, you know, once they get through that process and they get their live burn practical, you know, I also have the Tennessee Fire Commission coming here on Saturdays where they're able to go down and test and do all the hands-on stuff that makes it convenient for them. And we've gotten a lot of the volunteers state certified, you know, as firefighters. I mean, that's a big deal. And a lot of it's just out of pride for themselves and want to better themselves and give them an opportunity to do it as a career. I know if I start counting my time at Las Casas, I could probably sit here and name off about 50 to 60 people who've come under me through Las Casas and through the county that now work for Murfreesboro Fire Department, Brentwood, Smyrna, and a lot of paid departments. So, I mean, it's a good breeding ground for fire departments to hire from. But, you know, the problem is a lot of them come through and they do their time and they serve the community well, but then they get paid full time and they get married and have kids, and we lose that experience. You know, we lose that. And so it's just a constant revolving door with us is continue training and trying to get experienced firefighters.
Okay, gentlemen, we do have a motion to accept the SAFER grant with the stipulations that Commissioner Schaefer wanted also included. Any further discussion relative to this motion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Durgan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Shannon?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. And now, gentlemen, we need to do the related budget amendment.
It's the last page in that section. This is the amendment assumes that the earliest that Mr. Farley could bring somebody on was April 14th. Gives him time to, after it's approved at commission, and then post interview process. So this is figured with, as I said, that April 14th. And so it would be recognizing $154,725 of the grant to fund $102,650 for other salaries and wages and then the related benefits.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank
We
you.
did the-
Second.
the hard
Seconded by
bit.
Commissioner Petty. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Farley. Item number 10 on our agenda is an amendment to the grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Human Services for child support services.
This extends the grant that we have 1 year. This is for the child support out of the juvenile courts.
Same numbers and everything. It's
referee.
Just extended another year.
It extends it another year, and it's a percentage of his salary.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan.
What is the percentage?
I'm thinking it's a weird number. I'm gonna say it's 66, 2/3,
Two-thirds.
1/3.
But it's the same numbers we've done.
It's the number
last
that we've
several
always
years. Yeah.
had. We've had it for several years.
The last page is just the extension, it's 28 state, 14,000 counties, so it's about 1/3, 2/3.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. We have a request from Mr. Gregory at PAWS to reclassify 2 positions within his department, and you will notice that he has sent a letter with his apologies for being absent this evening, but he is requesting to reclassify 2 animal control officer positions within his department, and Mrs. Nolan will explain how this needs to be accounted for.
He's got 2 pay grade, current positions that are both pay grade 15s. His request is to take one of those to a pay grade 6 and one to a pay grade 19. That would be position 1661 and 1662. The net effect of this change is $56.
Like I say, we don't have any numbers, but
It's not gonna be
$56.
it's not gonna be any amendment. He's just requesting this change of pay grades.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Okay, next we have our budget schedule, and if you'll take a quick look. I know we voted on the budget calendar earlier, but this, of course, now is
This adds
all those
meetings
work sessions.
in between, the 512, 519, 521.
If I'm not wrong, there's a planning commission meeting at 5:12 at the same time.
I think it is, but they don't use this room.
2 of us are on planning.
2 of us are on
Oh,
planning.
And we're in that room right there.
Think about that
Oh,
when
I
we were
didn't think about
scheduling
that
that.
one.
Yeah.
You could stand in the doorway.
Can we vote both directions?
Oh, you mean-
Back to back.
Oh,
And
man,
Vicky
we
were trying
didn't think
and
about
Vicky
it.
were trying to think of all the scenarios. And
Yeah.
they said, well, they use that room, we can
We
use
use
this room.
this room.
Yeah, well, we can run back and forth, but it might get a little confusing.
Yeah.
You know, but
thumbs up, thumbs down on stuff.
What time does their meeting start?
6.
They're at 6 o'clock, so it's.
We won't be done.
No, we won't.
No.
So we'll need to work on that 512.
Don't book up a date that the agriculture committee's meeting either.
Okay.
That's the 20th, I believe,
Yeah.
of May. You don't have one on the 20th. So
No.
No.
you got the 19th, 21st. You bounced right over that one. That's good.
I'll have to let you
Okay.
check on
That's
the
good, that
rest of
works.
it. Right,
Education, though.
okay. We'll work on the 512, and hopefully, the others will be okay. Notice the 527.
4:30?
That is the joint meeting with the school board and the health and ed, and notice the change in time, 4:30. I don't think anything else, the public hearing on the 17th, that's 7 o'clock. And then, of course, our 9 o'clock county commission meeting to adopt the budget on the 27th. So do you see any other problems with any dates?
It looks like it's narrowed down. Is it less meetings this year?
No?
No.
It's the same number.
Smaller print.
No.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is, smaller print.
Yeah.
Well, when we get that one date straightened out, the 12th, can we get a hard copy put in our bins
In your boxes.
downstairs?
Okay. Okay.
So we'll have to, so are we approving except for the 12th, and hopefully we'll have something between now and full commission?
Yeah.
So we can at least get all these on the calendar.
Is this just for information, gentlemen, or do we want to
Well-
vote on this?
It seems like, I mean, it just, there's a lot of, in the, like the general fund, like on that 12th meeting, there is, what, 1, 2, 3,
Actually, this
4,
is-
Those are the
5,
same as
These
last
are
year.
the same
That's
as
what
what
we've
we've
done
done for the
before.
last several years. We've kind of gotten a
That's what I'm
formula
saying. It
going.
seemed like a little too much rushed through those, but, you know, some of them are pretty
Yeah.
easy, you know, they're, you know, the only budget change is their
It's just a,
It's exactly.
Yeah.
insurance or something, you know, something,
Yeah.
pretty minute,
Mark
but
just
I was
followed
gonna
the
say that-
pattern of what we did last year even, so.
It's worked in the past.
Mhm.
Just, yeah, I would agree with Commissioner P. Try not to go to the 20th. We've got the 19th to 21st already of May, but
Will you make some notes of which ones not to do?
It appears the 13th, there's nothing on the 13th.
13th works for me.
What day of the week?
I marked that day out for some
Tuesday.
reason on the calendar, and I don't know.
It's, there's no other meeting scheduled, but it could be some other problem that I don't know about.
I'm not sure if this room is in use for that night, because I marked through it for some reason on the calendar here. But
You can
Vicki and
check
I
that
were
out,
looking
yeah.
at it. Yeah, I'll check that out in the morning with Vicki.
what else you got?
Nothing on the 13th.
What about 14th?
14th is
14th
Wednesday.
is BZA.
Nothing on the 14th.
That's the BZA,
BZA
yes,
meeting.
BZA on the 14th, oh, okay. I don't
The
have that.
BZA's in the other room, and there's nobody on,
I think they
no
said they
commissioners
used
on
both
BZA.
his rooms, what Vicki said. Vicki
But they
had this
meet at
room
4:30.
reserved.
Yeah.
They meet at 4:30. They
won't be
meet in here
here.
before their 4:30
They won't be in
meeting.
here at 5:30.
Yeah, she thought they used both rooms, and we didn't know if they would be
Not
open
really.
at that time, but
That might
yeah,
work, too.
if
Yeah.
that might work.
Yeah, their BZA meeting starts at 4:30. They have some sort of meeting before in here for that, but that's at 4 or 3:30 or something.
And
like
then they
that.
move on
Then they
into
move in
there? Okay, so you
you
think
want to set it
that
at that, then?
So 13th and 14th, you can look at both of those.
one's a Tuesday, one's a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Either one's worked for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check those. Is there any date preferable, 13th or 14th for the
I mean,
committee?
if the 13th would
13th will
work,
work, that'd be best.
Be best, okay.
yeah.
but if the 13th won't work, 14th's okay. Is that right?
Okay, so the calendar as presented will stand except for that 12th, that was a conflict, and that will either be the 13th or the 14th. Okay? Okay, we do have one item under other business. And this has to do, this is just for information, no action is needed, but it does have to do with debt service fund cash flow.
It has to do with the 3-star program.
We have
That
to
was
put-
sent up
We have to put
today.
this in the minutes.
Yes.
So bad.
And part of it being a 3-star program, one of the things that two things that we have to do is to demonstrate that we have a debt policy which we do, which was easy. The second one was to demonstrate that we have sufficient cash to pay debt. And so, and part of it is that we're to present a estimate by month of the cash flow. So, just found this out today, so this is why you get, the actual is in black and white, the projection is in yellow. I've sent this to the state to see if this will satisfy their requirement, but it's gotta be in the record and presented to y'all, so.
Do we have to make a motion or something for it?
Yeah, gotta be
Do
in
they have to
minutes.
make a it's,
Oh, you do?
do we discuss it, or does it have to be, accept the report?
Let's accept the report and put in the
Okay.
minutes that we've, that the
Okay.
budget committee.
Make a
has
motion to accept the cash flow chart. Does that work?
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan. Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer.
Therefore, the
Peak.
cash being in there, is
Yeah.
the cash flow
Yeah.
chart.
I didn't say approve it, I said we accepted it, so, I mean, you know, if we don't agree with the numbers later on, we can.
All in
We didn't
favor,
approve
please
it, we
say
just
aye.
accepted it.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, is there anything else that needs to come before our committee?
Yes, ma'am. It's the second Wednesday, second Saturday coming up in the month. It means it's 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock on Gamble Lane in Laverne is, say it, the best ham breakfast you're ever gonna eat for the Laverne Rescue Squad. Kittens got a fish, doesn't it?
That
Until you go
represents
to
the Las
Kittredge.
Casas district, but they have their fish fry.
Don't you have
Saturday at
one, too?
6 p.m.
You kidding?
They have a Saturday or a Friday fish fry?
Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
I was saying earlier.
Okay,
that
gentlemen,
yours is-
anything else that needs to come before our committee? Thank you, gentlemen, we are adjourned.